Eric's, imagine just like packing your bags and like traveling the world and like no passports, no visas.
Wow.
What if borders just like disappeared?
Mm,
Today we're diving deep into a world without borders.
right.
We're not just talking politics and economics, though.
Yeah.
We're talking how this could change like everything. Wars, resources, even like who we think we are.
It really makes you rethink like the whole foundation of society, you know?
It does. It really does. Okay, so the source material we're looking at today kind of starts off with this big question.
Okay.
Would a world without borders mean no more war?
You know, when you first think about it, it seems kind of obvious,
Yeah,
right? No borders, no territory to fight over.
exactly.
But when you look at history, war, conflict, it's rarely just about lines on a map.
That's true.
Think about like the 20th century, all those ideological clashes.
Right.
People are ready to fight, even die for what they believed in. Borders didn't really
Yeah.
matter.
So even if the borders are gone, all those deeper tensions, that stuff's still there, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Like imagine taking down a fence between two neighbors who can't stand each other.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
The fence is gone, but the problems, they're still there.
Ooh, that's good, yeah. But the source, it keeps going with this, and it actually brings up like a possible solution.
Oh, okay.
Global cooperative resource management.
Ooh.
So like imagine clean water,
Okay.
not based on where you're born, but managed globally so everybody gets what they need,
I like that.
right? Okay, but that brings up another big question. Resources.
Yeah.
We've got countries right now that control oil, minerals, food, everything.
Mm-hmm.
So in a borderless world, how does that work?
Right.
Does everyone just get equal access to everything?
Well, I mean, the source does talk about ending poverty and hunger. That's a big part of it.
Yeah.
But to actually do that, we need some serious innovation.
Go.
Like, take rare earth minerals.
Uh-huh.
Those are crucial for all our tech, our phones, everything.
Right.
Right
I-
now, just a few countries control them. So a world without borders would need to figure out how to manage those resources fairly.
Globally, right?
Yeah, globally and sustainably, too. We don't want to just repeat the same mistakes.
Oh, for sure. For sure. So maybe no more fighting over borders, but we'll be fighting over who gets the last iPhone.
Right.
Okay, let's shift gears a little.
Okay.
The source talks a lot about travel.
Uh-huh.
You know, just seamless travel, experiencing different cultures. It paints a picture of like hopping on a train and ending up on another continent.
Yeah.
I gotta say, that part sounds pretty good.
It does. And they're not just talking about like vacations.
Yeah.
They talk about trade too. Like imagine a world where goods and services just flow freely.
Ah, wow.
No tariffs, no barriers. It could be a huge boost for economies around the world.
Yeah.
But then there's also like the potential downsides.
Oh, right.
Think about infrastructure.
Okay.
What happens if you have millions of people suddenly moving around?
Yeah.
Can our cities and transportation systems handle that?
Yeah. Good point.
And we have to be careful about things like labor exploitation.
Right.
We don't want a borderless world where people are taken advantage of.
For sure. Yeah. Okay, so we've talked about war, resources, travel. What about something a little more personal?
Okay.
What about our identity? Like who we are? You know, if we're all global citizens, do countries even matter anymore?
Right.
What happens to all those traditions, cultures, national holidays? Would we still cheer for our countries in the Olympics?
It really makes you think. The source talks about like a more global, inclusive sense of self.
Okay.
But at the same time, humans were creatures of habit, right?
Oh, yeah.
All those traditions, they don't just vanish overnight.
No.
It's interesting to imagine how they might change in a borderless world. Would they blend together?
Yeah.
Would new traditions emerge? Who knows?
Maybe we'll all be wearing like Team Planet Earth jerseys. Okay, let's hit one last big idea from the source, and that's the environment.
Okay.
It actually says that no borders could be good for the planet. How does that work?
Well, think about like migratory animals.
Okay.
They travel across huge distances, totally ignoring those lines we've drawn on maps.
Right.
So imagine if we applied that kind of thinking to how we manage the environment.
Okay.
A borderless world could mean a more connected, holistic approach to things like conservation.
Oh, I see.
Or think about issues that cross borders right now,
Yeah.
like pollution or shared water resources.
Right.
Those are things we could deal with a lot better if we weren't limited by political borders.
It's like we'd finally be seeing the planet as one big system instead of all these little separate pieces.
Exactly.
The source also talks about this idea of like a global education system.
Oh, wow.
Students from all over the world learning and working together. It sounds like it could really help with cultural understanding and empathy.
Yeah, the source talks about that a lot. Education, breaking down those cultural barriers.
Right.
Building empathy from a young age.
Yeah.
But actually creating a system like that, it wouldn't be easy.
Oh, I'm sure.
How do you design a curriculum that's inclusive of all these different cultures,
That's true.
but also gives everyone the knowledge they need to succeed in a globalized world?
And how do you make sure that everybody has access to quality education?
Right. That's a huge challenge.
Huge challenge. Okay, it's time for like a reality check.
Yeah,
This borderless world, it sounds amazing.
it does.
But what are the roadblocks? Like, what's actually going to stop this from happening?
I mean, there are a lot of obstacles.
Yeah.
Start with the most obvious ones, like language barriers,
Right.
cultural differences, the prejudices that have built up over centuries.
Yeah.
And then there's the big one. How do you actually govern a world without borders?
Right.
How do you create systems that are fair, that protect individual rights?
Yeah.
How do you make decisions when you have billions of people with all these different needs and values?
It's a tough one.
It's incredibly complex. And we can't forget about the people who might actually benefit from the way things are now.
Oh, that's true?
Change is hard, especially when it's this big.
Yeah.
You're going to have people who resist, people who are afraid of what they might lose.
Definitely. But even if a truly borderless world is like way off in the future,
Yeah,
just thinking about these ideas, it's valuable.
I agree.
It forces us to question how things work now and imagine new ways of doing things.
It makes you think outside the box.
Totally. So here's something to think about.
Okay.
The source, it talks a lot about love, empathy, cooperation.
Mm.
So if we could actually embrace those things, really make them the foundation of a borderless world, what kind of future could we build? It's a big question.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't have the answers yet, but it's worth asking.
I think so too.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into a world without borders.